There we go. Okay. Well, you guys, welcome to this income call tonight. My name is Becky Page, and tonight I am joined with one of my oldest and dearest friends. We went to college together. We stayed friends throughout the years. Rachael Neagle was actually my second ambassador that I recruited to this business. And it all started when my sponsor, Andrea, said, did you know that your friend Rachael is interested? And I thought, if Rachel's interested, this is going to be awesome. Because one thing I knew is that we were both passionate, but also we like to have fun together. And I think we spent like 2 hours on the phone strategizing, okay, what would we do if this business, like if something actually happened? And this was all in January of 2014. So tonight, a huge part of our story is the fun. But tonight, we're going to take a different shift. And Rachael was reminding me earlier today that one of our common bonds is the fact that we both treasure and appreciate authentic and raw stories. We're not really great with the perfect poly stories because we're not perfect. But I wanted to talk tonight about why you would even consider jumping into the direct sales, the network marketing, the hustle from home, whatever you've heard it be called in the past, MLM. Why would you consider this industry? But specifically, why would you consider this business with Plexus in 2020? It might surprise you to learn that, yes, it is fun. And yes, I love working with people that I treasure, their relationships. But I really think, looking back on it, that God knew what was coming, what was up ahead in my life and in Rachel's life. And I really think that it was just His grace that called us to do this. So like I said, I joined in January 2014. I think I literally called Rachael that day and we talked for 2 hours. She signed up a few days later and our businesses just started from there. And at that time, all we could foresee was, okay, maybe what if we could actually make like $500 or $1,000? At the time, that much money a month was gonna make a big difference for both of us. I was a working licensed professional counselor in Dallas. I owned a private practice. I had 2 young children. Rachael also had 2 children. And I was in Dallas. She was at the time in Amarillo. And we just knew that, hey, if this could help pay a car payment or could just ease our family's monthly budget, it'd be worth it. That's about as far as we dared to dream at that point. Because neither one of us had had experience really doing this industry before. Like I said, I was a counselor at the time Rachael was teaching. We were busy moms. We were tired moms. And most of you guys right now, you're feeling the same way. You understand this. So our strategy was really like, hey, what if we could make a couple $1,000s? We knew that there was like a car and a trip to Hawaii, but I don't even know that we had our sights set that far at that point, right, Rach? So I wanted to tell you the reasons that I thought God might want this for my family. I was working all the time. I was a small business owner, and I call that the golden handcuffs in business, because when you're a small business owner, yes, you have freedom, but the buck stops with you and time is money. And I felt like I was working around the clock, and I had a daughter that was in kindergarten and a little 2-year-old boy, and they were with my nanny quite often. My husband was a really stressed out attorney. It was like we were definitely in the rat race. We were playing keep up with the Joneses. We had school debt. I thought maybe God might be giving us a chance to pay off school debt, which we desperately needed to do. I had a desire to slow down, all of these good things. And honestly, those things started to happen. Both Rachael and I were able to start recruiting. And at the time, people were, posting on Facebook, on social media it still felt as scary as it does today, but it was very new. So it was unexpected. And our businesses started to grow. And I want to tell you, God knew what was coming up ahead for both of us. So the beauty of our comp plan, I really want you to understand this, is that you can really work as fast or as slow as you want. You can run as hard as you want and be as busy as you want, or there's no pressure for you to keep a certain pace. You can work as hard or as little as you like. Rachel actually passed me in September of 2014. So I'm her sponsor, but she was able to build at a pace where it wasn't like I was holding her down, or I was coasting on, on her fumes. She was able to pass me. And so she reached the jewel level. That's 6-figure income. You get a Lexus, you get a trip to Maui. She did that in September of 2014. Now, in August of 2014, well, let me back up. In May, in the beginning of May of 2014, I actually had what's called a Plexus baby. I started to feel great. I had lost weight. I was feeling amazing. I was cleaning up my gut health, feeling better than I had felt, since like college. And my husband and I got pregnant. We weren't trying. It was so exciting. We weren't sure that we wanted to have more kids, and this happened. And suddenly, we were sure. We were so excited. But in August of 2014, the first kind of unexpected life circumstance happened. And at 11 weeks, I miscarried. And if you've been through miscarriage, and Rachel has as well, but it just completely takes the wind out of your sails. And I think because the pregnancy had been a surprise, I was so shocked by the devastation of losing that baby. And I was still working full time. Plexus was a side fun business at that point. Rachel and I had already been on some trips together and just really enjoyed it. And when I miscarried, I just thought I had zero emotional bandwidth. And you guys know that if you've ever been through a season of grief, it just steals energy, and it should, right? There are some things that just require that you give it attention. And so that's what happened with my miscarriage. But much to my excitement, Rachel was able to keep working, pushing, going, and she built this great business in a matter of truly 9 months. And so in 9 months' time, she went from joining the company to earning 6 figures, getting a car, and really the goal for her, she had set early on, and I won't steal your thunder, Rachel, I want you to tell this, but she was ready to leave that career and that season behind. And so in September, she outranked me, and I really was able to, especially with the help of our team, grieve. And that's something, I don't know if you're in a job, I want you to know this, as a working counselor, I actually was afraid of grief. I had lots of women who would come to see me, and some of them were dealing with miscarriage, and I was weeping on the inside, but didn't feel the freedom to obviously share that with them. Can you imagine if your own therapist starts crying while you're in session trying to work through something? And so I really had to slow down with my clients, because I knew that in order to stay healthy as a therapist, I had to make space for my own grief. Thankfully, at that time, we had Plexus that was supplemental. It was supplemental income to our family. And my income did not change, even though I was slowing down grieving. I wasn't in a recruiting place. I was just kind of in a maintenance place. It took the wind out of my sails, but through team support, community, and love from my friends, both my friends on my team and my uplines, by November, I had sort of rested, grieved, and prepared. And I also then went Emerald. And that was such a gift. And to have that come on the heels of a heartache was transforming for my family. So if only that were the last hard thing. Rachel and I both continued to build our businesses. In 2016, in the spring, we both reached the diamond level, which is the top of our company. Huge goal, wonderful sense of excitement, kind of a, whew, okay, thank goodness, now we've done that. It was such a blessing. I was still working, still owning a small business. I had actually had a rainbow baby. My daughter was born in 2015. After we miscarried in 2014, I went on to have a daughter at 40, which was such a gift. But at 40, with 2 businesses and a baby, I was tired, y'all, like crazy tired. So I decided to retire from my counseling business. And all I could see ahead was, oh, it's going to be the good life now. I'd never really been a stay-at-home mom, and I was so excited. And my husband and I were kind of burned out, and we had planned a vacation that summer to go to Colorado and really rest and, catch our breaths. And guys, I mean, I just look at how, I know you guys get this. This is how life works sometimes. I'm so thankful that I went through this, but on the very first morning of our vacation in Colorado, and we had actually just been at Rachel and her husband's house the night before as we were driving our family to Colorado, my husband suffered a massive stroke. And it was terrifying. I honestly thought that he was dying. He was 40 years old. He was in excellent health. He had altitude sickness, and he has a few genetic disorders that predisposed him to clotting. And so he threw a clot. He had a big stroke. We spent our entire vacation in Colorado in the hospital with him. He was airlifted through the mountains, and it was just, one of the most traumatic days and seasons that I've been through. And again, it was so unexpected. And so it took the wind out of my sails again. And I had to, once again, just focus on my family, grieve. I want you to know that he made an amazing recovery. I am so thankful. We are so grateful for that, because I know that's not everyone's story with stroke. It did take a while, and I think we were depressed for a little season after. If you've ever been through a trauma where you're kind of like, what happened? Plexus took care of us during a season where we couldn't work the business. The business continued to support our family. And then I get to tell you guys the rest of my story, and then I'll pass it to Rachel, which is that God called our family, to both my husband and I, leaving our professional careers, to leave our friends and family. It truly, I would just say it's a faith move. We moved to Northwest Arkansas, and we had no idea that God's intent was for us to live solely on our Plexus income, but we have for almost 2.5 years now. And I will tell you that it's not always been easy, but I am so thankful for this industry that nobody is trained for. Nobody has a master's degree in network marketing. I couldn't foresee, but God foresaw 2020, where so many brick and mortar businesses would be shoveled for weeks at a time, where people would suffer all kinds of economic scarcity, where people would be forced to go into shutdown in the businesses they love. And Rachel can attest to this. 2020 in this field has only caused our industry to flourish, especially Plexus, because it is a health and wellness company. So it's been a massive blessing. I want to pass the mic to Rachel, because her story also, I'm like, and I'm going to make sure I'm not on screen because I probably will cry, but I want you to hear, as we've walked together through these seasons, I want you to hear her side as well.
Thanks, Beck. So my story is different in a lot of ways from Becky's. When I first started Plexus, and I remember the phone call that Becky and I had, and I remember, like she said, just being like, the point that we were at, we had actually just recently relocated from Amarillo, Texas to Lubbock, Texas, for a ministry position. If you know people who do ministry, you know that you're not rolling in extra cash. I was actually finally well enough, thanks to the products, that I was able to take on a job. I actually bought the products first as a customer, then joined as an ambassador. I took a job part-time as a literacy specialist for the school district. The reason I want to point out that part-time is that for jobs like that, if you don't work, you don't get paid. So if I had a sick kid, or if they didn't need me because there was testing going on campus, or if it was a district day where it was a student holiday, I was not paid on those days. So to say that there was no margin in our income is greatly oversimplifying things. In order to be in the school district that we wanted to be in, we pushed our budget on our home. Michael at the time was driving a truck that had been a hand-me-down. It was his brother's truck when he was in high school. It looked like what's his name, McFly's truck in Back to the Future. Only it would have been cool back then. It wasn't cool for an adult to be driving. And so really to be like $500 extra. I mean, I remember when I got my first paycheck from Plexus, I joined January 25th. So I'd only been with the company 6 days before the end of the month. And my first paycheck was over $300. And I was like, what is happening? And then, you know, the next month it had grown to like 800. And I was like, and at that point I convinced myself this was a total scam. Like there's no way this was going to last. There's no way, we better sock this away, you know, like, come on. And then like Becky described, you know, my journey with the products, and, you know, thankfully I had people and I had built trust. I think that's one of the most important commodities in this industry is trust factor, is people knowing you're not going to spam their inboxes. You're not going to, you know, try to make a quick buck off of them, but you're going to use your relationship because your desire is to truly help people and to serve people. And I tell people, if you've heard my hormone testimony, the only thing that makes going through what I went through, Becky mentioned miscarriages, there were other, you know, hardships as well. The only thing that makes going through something like that worth it, and the same thing will be true tonight of sharing our traumas and our intimate stories here, is if you have the ability to somehow help someone else. And I've had to really have a mindset shift from, it's super easy for me to help you guys with products, for me to tell you this is what you can do and you're absolutely going to feel better. But I've got to renew my mindset that God gave me this gift of a business to help people as well. And I told Becky today, is there a more overused phrase than if 2020 has taught us anything? But if it has, and it's taught us hopefully so much, we typically learn a lot during seasons of hardship, it's that multiple streams of income are highly beneficial. And I do think of my friends who owned gyms, who owned hair salons, who owned restaurants and bars, who own brick and mortar stores that would still like to be able to get back to work and haven't been. And I think, man, I wish that I had shared this gift of supplemental income with them. So in my story, I had kind of been the tragedy and the train wreck in our family because of health issues, and Plexus really changed that. And you know, Plexus has enriched my life in so many ways. It started with my health, then it became the gift of incredible relationships and friendships. Then it was income and margin and the opportunity to save and pay off debt and other things like that. And I think that we just thought, oh my gosh, there's so much good that's coming from this. We just never anticipated the sneak attack that the enemy can bring in. But I think it was August of, Becky, when did we go Sapphire? Was it 2015? 2015, yeah. About a year before that, so shortly after I hit Emerald, my husband, who has been a worship leader, he was signed to a recording deal out of Nashville. He has toured with very high-profile artists like Mercy Me and Jeremy Camp, and you know, big names that are selling out arenas and playing in front of groups of 25,000 to 50,000 people. Was at our church with about 2,000 people and suffered his first ever panic attack. And I think in that moment, we really thought you drank too much coffee, you didn't get a good night's rest, you had a stressful rehearsal on Thursday, and we thought you're going to go home and you're going to get some rest and you're going to feel better. And I would like to tell you that he did, but he didn't. And that began a long series of just trying to search for the proverbial needle in the haystack of what was causing his symptoms. We went from diagnoses of everything from mold toxicity to an issue with his eyes to vitamin deficiencies to a genetic mutation that actually Becky, her husband, and Michael all have called MTHFR. But we couldn't fix it. And that's a whole other story on, trying to fix people. Unfortunately, that turned into a very slippery slope. In the time that we continued to be with the church, Michael took 2 unpaid leaves of absence. If you work for a church, you are not covered by things like unemployment benefits or short-term disability. So if he didn't work, he didn't get paid, or he had to use all of his vacation time, which left us with, no opportunity to take a trip. After I hit Sapphire, we actually made the decision for him to leave that job. We felt like the stress of it was contributing to his illness. And I think, again, we naively fully thought that he would leave the job and miraculously get better. But then there also becomes the issue of things like insurance. So he jumped right back into the medical field because he's also an RN. And things basically went from bad to worse. And it wasn't until 2 years ago in May that we realized that he had been negatively coping with alcohol as a way to ease his anxiety, as a way, he had never been a heavy drinker before, but if you loved or you've known someone that's gone down that road, you don't know the moment in which the flip is going to get switched, where something that is just I need this at night to calm down turns into an addiction. And so in May of 2018, I checked him in for a 4.5-week stay at a rehab center, and was able to write a check in full for his treatment. During the time that he was in the treatment facility, he obviously was not getting paid from his job, and my income more than covered our house payment and car payments and electric bills and all of the other things. And I know that both mine and Becky's stories may sound really dramatic. We honestly wanted to share in a way that was very vulnerable and honest with you guys. But I think the point is, and the takeaway is that it never ever hurts, like I said again, to have an extra stream of income. And this is certainly not the way that I would have ever envisioned God providing for my family. But I'm also so grateful that I did not let pride stand in the way, that the Lord, he did put on my heart initially, like, I want you to help people to feel better because you feel better. And okay, we've conquered that. Now I want to help people who are feeling like they've been set back. I know people who have lost massive amounts of money in the stock market because of 2020. People whose either themselves, their hours have been cut back, they've been furloughed, maybe their husband has lost a job, maybe there is an unforeseen, this is kind of a side note, but the number one reason for declaring bankruptcy in the United States is medical bills, is not being able to pay. So you think about people, if you know someone who's been personally affected by COVID, and if they unfortunately had to have a long-term, stay in the hospital, or God forbid ended up on a ventilator, that's a massive medical bill. So I think that we really just wanted to share in a vulnerable way how residual income or secondary streams of income can benefit you. And like I told Becky earlier, for some people, maybe it's going to be driving an Uber or, you know, taking on some kind of side gig like that. And if that's what you choose to do, that's great. But my takeaway is I'm on this thing all day anyway. Like I can either be playing Candy Crush. I don't even know what that is, but I hear people talk about it, or I can actually use it to help people, which is, I think, at mine and Becky's core, the desire of our hearts.
Thank you, Rach. I can't even stress to you guys how much more struggle there is to our stories. And the only reason I say that is because it's really hard in 30 minutes to cram, 6 years of life in. But what I want to encourage you guys with is I think so often we downplay gifts from God. And I would tell you, I think, especially to those of you who have already decided to do this business, I just want to encourage you to focus on the gifts it's given you and to really let that be something that you celebrate. So many times we keep lifting our expectations, which means our disappointments get greater. And in 2020, I have been incredibly beyond thankful, even for the hardships that I've been through, because they do make me realize where I am right now is such a gift and a blessing. And I just wish that over all you guys as well. I will tell you, if you're watching this call, even at a later date, and you want to be encouraged, reach out to the person who sent you this video or invited you to the call. We love what we do. It's not always easy. I want to tell you, you need to plan for the long haul, but it certainly has incredible gifts, especially exactly what Rachael said. Having the freedom to sit on your couch and work from your phone is a gift, especially right now. So we just wanted to share that with you guys, and we are so grateful for your time. Thank you for joining us, and have a great night.